This week's episode is brought to you by Danielle B., who suggested a featured movie on our Facebook page. Thank you very much for the movie suggestion, Danielle, and if you have a movie you'd like us to cover on a future episode, stick around. We're going to tell you all the ways you can do that at the end of the show. Welcome to the Graveyard Shift Horror Podcast, where each week we watch a movie selected by one of our listeners and we break it down into the good, the bad, and, when necessary, any other category we decide to make up along the way. We'll talk about the plot, some production details, and anything else we find fun or relevant. I'm your host Sheldon, and I never worked a graveyard shift alone. Please say hello to a monster that I summon using a cursed object, my co-host Mike.
Hey everybody.
I think you need a drink of water there, Mike. Give it a try.
Hey, everybody.
That's better. All right. So, Mike, how are you doing, my friend?
Oh, pretty darn good.
Oh, that sounds good. We actually had...
I never ask how you're doing. I'm an asshole. I'm sorry. Again, we've been doing this for almost 2 years, and I never ask you how you're doing.
That's okay. I'm used to it now.
I'm so slow.
Yeah, I got 2 years of updates for you now. Okay, so brace yourself. This is going to be a long episode. No, I'm good. We actually watched a movie that I really enjoyed.
Oh, same here.
Not the first time I saw it. I did see it originally in theaters years ago. I saw it on its opening night. Looked like interesting from what I saw from the trailers. Me and my wife, wasn't my wife at the time, my girlfriend at the time. Checked it out, loved it, but hadn't seen it since. Watched it that one and only time, and watched it again just last night for the first time in, 7 years. And my opinion hasn't changed. Still a fantastic movie. So, so why don't we just get right into it? Why don't you tell everyone what we watched this time?
Today's episode is Not With a Bong, but a Reefer. Because we watched The Cabin in the Woods.
Yep, we sure did. Whew. Okay, yes. So without getting into much details, I should say, we're going to do that in a little bit. What did you think?
This was an amazing surprise, a well-executed spoof on the horror genre, which, you'd think, oh no, is this going to be like some Scream ripoff? But no, it is its own thing. It is well done in its own way, and it's got plenty of Joss Whedon's buddies in it. Yeah.
Like a spoof on horror movies without, but a lot more intense than something like Scream. Not like a parody like Scary Movie or anything like that. Just a horror
distillation movie of the elements.
Exactly. But still its own horror movie at the same time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, absolutely. I loved it. And here's some little info on The Cabin in the Woods. Released in April of 2012, The Cabin in the Woods is an American horror movie directed by Drew Goddard, produced by Joss Whedon, and written by both. It's rated R, has a runtime of 95 minutes, had a budget of $30 million, and had a box office return of $66.5 million. So, it made a profit. Nothing great. It doubled its money, so I guess we'll call it a win. But when it comes to reviews, it certainly got a win because Rotten Tomatoes gives this one a 91% critic score and an audience score of 74%. That may be the highest critic score of any movie we've covered on this show so far.
We haven't done a 100% movie yet?
I don't think so, and I really doubt it. I think I'd remember that.
Do any 100% movies exist in the horror genre?
I would be very surprised. I'm surprised to see a horror movie of any type getting a 91%, to be perfectly honest. It's usually not the genre that the critics are giving the highest scores to. But in case you're interested in the plot, a group of college students who retreat to a remote forest cabin where they fall victim to supernatural horrors and the technicians who manipulate events from an underground facility. So yeah, I really want to talk about the good about this movie because I thought that this was just done so cleverly. You're kind of let in pretty early on about what's going on. I mean, it's not like it's a big surprise or anything like that. You know what's happening. It's just not until the end you get why it's happening. But like that's going to be the main focus of our breakdown. We're going to do like we always do, break this movie down into the good and the bad. That can be anything we liked or didn't like, and that can be anything as broad as like an overall theme or something as specific as a certain scene, certain line of dialogue, certain character, whatever the case is. If it's good, we'll talk about it. If it's bad, we'll probably talk about it even more, although I don't think there's a whole lot of bad to talk about this one, but we'll see. So we always start off with the good, and we always start off with the Mike. So Mike, what did you have for the good list on this one?
The introduction. It had a nice montage of sacrifices throughout the ages, and in a scene that is mundane, we got a zero casualty jump scare with bleeding credits.
Yeah.
And you're given what you need right off the bat. Like, you just think, what, am I watching the right movie? And then bam! It just screams cabin in the woods. So it sets a startling tone, and this isn't even like a big reveal. You'd think that would happen like later on in the movie, where it's like, oh, some assholes are manipulating it. No, it begins with the assholes.
Yeah, it really does.
So it's letting you know that you are not gonna get the typical fare right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. Like, it's not at all the way like I thought this movie the first time I watched it, the way I thought it was going to start out. And I will admit that that jump scare got me with the credits. I had the volume up a little too loud, sitting a little close to the TV, and even though I saw this movie in the theater, years later I forgot that happened. I did make a little bit of a jump, like, holy shit. Because it's just so out of place. Like, it's not like the typical jump scare where, like, it's building up suspense. These people are, like, riding in a fucking, like, electric car, a little electric golf cart, and then, like, it just pops out, like, mid-conversation.
Yeah, it is. There's not even like, oh, something scary is happening to them. It just stops. It just it freeze frames the movie and then just screams the title at you. Or there's just a scream with the title showing up.
Yes.
So it's abrupt. Mm-hmm. But thankfully, it's one of the. It's a nice use of the jump scare, but without relying on like cheap jump scares later on in the movie.
Yeah. For sure.
What about you?
Okay, well, first thing I'm going to note is that, something we're not used to for a lot of horror movies we see, the acting was all really well done throughout this whole movie from, like, the entire cast. Like, I didn't have a problem with anybody's acting. I have a problem with one thing in regards to one certain actor, and I'll talk about that later on. But I just mean overall, I think everybody had a good performance. The cast was really well selected. Everybody played their part. Everyone played their part right, and I liked how there was a change in the characters throughout from the start of the movie until we get around to like the middle of the movie. There's actually like a bit of we'll say like a character evolution for all of them, and of course we find out there's a reason for that afterwards. But just well done. It was a well-rounded cast. Like, I was very, very pleased.
Yep, and in that vein, my next like is all the characters are likable. Usually in these movies, like, there's like either like a poorly acted asshole or someone who is specifically written to be exceptionally annoying.
Yeah.
And nobody was annoying in this. Every character, like, you get their role, you get their place. They make the most of what their role is. They don't try to overreach or, I need to make you hate me so you want me to die later. Like, none of that. everyone was likable.
Yeah. And it's funny, too, because it kind of goes to, like, what I said about some, like, changes in the characters throughout the movie. Where that even comes up, you know, like, where they even kind of mention that. Because that, of course, is, like you said, it is the common trope for horror movies, and this is the whole reason why he did this. This is kind of like a pointing out that horror movies of this type, like, and I don't mean like this movie specifically, but this type of horror movie, like, always has those characters, like, that fit into these little molds.
The archetypes, yeah.
Exactly.
Like, there's always, like, the clown, like, even in Friday the 13th, Part 3, Jason got his hockey mask from the prankster asshole who was using it to, like, scare people.
Yeah. And it's like, the whole thing when it comes to, like, you know, the way it's planned out with these technicians that are, like, kind of, like, not writing the script, but pushing the script along. That, like, yeah, these people, they don't fit those archetypes, but we need to make them fit it.
Yeah, so we need to take this girl with an average libido and make her the slut. So pump in the pheromones.
Exactly. So, one of the things, like, anyone that's listened to the show with any type of regularity knows that I'm going to mention this, but the gore in this is fucking fantastic. The visual effects are, like, some of the best I've seen in a horror movie. There's one scene in particular, and I'm going to mention this scene just because it's, like, the most gore you're going to see, and possibly some of one of the most gore-filled scenes you'll see on film. And that is the scene, of course, when all the monsters get released. I feel like we should break down, like, for anyone that hasn't seen the movie and, like, doesn't care about spoilers, and I don't think there's anyone listening to the show that, you know, is worried about spoilers at this point. And besides, even if there are, this is a 7-year-old movie, so I think we're safe to talk about the things that happen. The movie starts off like it's going to be, you know, cabin in the woods. Group of college kids go to a cabin and they're met with some horrors, and that is, you know, something that has been done to death. I mean, you know, you've got what I guess would be the prototype Evil Dead, and it's going to be very hard to improve on that, but a lot have tried. But you think it's going to be like that, but then we find out that there is kind of like an ancient, what do you want to call them? Like, not, I was going to say a secret society, but it's not really a secret society. It's because it's kind of just like a place of business, really. It's
just a facility.
Yeah, it's a facility that makes sure certain events happen, and they have to happen in a certain way to preserve the survival of Earth.
Yeah, they ensure certain events happen so that a massive, uncontrollable event doesn't happen. Exactly.
And this is the reason why it seems like so many horror movies fall into, like, the same, to kind of play out the same way, is because they kind of have to. And because the people getting killed are actually being sacrificed to basically an ancient god. That's, you know, if it's displeased, it's going to destroy the earth. And so we have to get, like, our sacrifices. There has to be the athlete, the whore, the fool, the scholar, and the virgin. And according to the people in this movie, the virgin is optional.
Yeah, as long as she's the last one left, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, as long as she doesn't have to die, she just has to suffer and be the final one. So this organization, the people that are part of that run this facility, they basically have, and they have, like, facilities like this all over the world, basically one in every country. That one of them has. I
think it's like one on every continent.
Maybe it's every continent.
Madrid. Yeah, one is Madrid. I think there was one that said Lebanon.
I think so.
So that would be Africa. And then there was one in Japan for Asia.
Yeah.
And then one in was one Brazil?
One was Buenos Aires.
So still South America.
Yeah.
And then there was the North American one. So I guess one for each developed continent.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Was there an Australian one?
I don't remember seeing an Australian one.
Well, the continents that matter anyway. The continents that people can agree are continents.
Yeah. So this is, and it turns out that, like, there's got to be a certain amount of free will to it. Like, people have to go into the situation.
Your destroyer.
Pretty much, yeah. They have to choose, and they have to go there on their own free will, even though they've been warned not to go there. And yeah, like the way it plays out, like as soon as they have to meet like certain criteria in order for the sacrifice to work. And one person that works in the facility even says, like, so you're. They didn't say he was cheating. I can't remember the way he put it.
It's rigging the game.
You're rigging the game. They're like, no, it's not, because, well, I said, like, of course we rig it as much as we can, but when it comes down to it, they have to do this of their own free will.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool. Like, there isn't, like, put that to the good list. I'm already talking about one of the things on my good list, but add it to that. It was a fucking original story. Taking, like, something that has been done so many times and turning it into something that was like such a fresh and original story.
Oh yeah,
it was like a feat to me. Like, it's great storytelling.
It is again a perfect distillation of the elements of horror movies that we love.
Yeah,
and one of those elements is my next good, which is when the facility crew are on the phone getting a status report from the harbinger of doom. On the phone, and even he's talking to them on the phone like, the unbelievers have made the voyage. They will embark upon a quest and invite death to them all. And then the other guys are starting to snicker, and he's like, am I on speaker? No, you're fine.
So rude. Don't put me on speaker.
I can hear the echo. I'm on speaker. Okay, I'm going to take you off. And he I think he cups his hands around the speaker so the guy doesn't hear the echo. Okay, so tell me about the end times again. And the flesh will be rendered from their bones, and you still have me on speaker.
Yeah,
and they even tell the scientist girl, the chemistry girl. They said, of course, we all need the elements in place. I mean, look at the guy we hired for the Harbinger. He basically has a sign around his neck saying, you will die. But we still put him there. Because everyone's going to ignore him.
Exactly. And, of course, since you mentioned her already, Amy, I got this on my good list, Amy Acker, who, before I saw this movie, knew her as Fred from Angel.
Ah, such a crush on her.
Oh, my God.
She's so beautiful.
She still is. Absolutely still is. I saw her at Toronto Comic-Con a few years ago, and she still looks fantastic.
Yeah. Seeing her in Dollhouse as like the scientist the stripper turned scientist thanks to a brain transfer. So it was good to see her in like a nice lab coat, and Dr. Burkle indulges me in more science fantasy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, so I mentioned we talked about some of the good things, and I mentioned that, like, the gore is fantastic. So I was going to mention this, but I kind of, like, pulled away from it so we could talk about this. But, like, because I wanted to talk about this specifically. One particular scene when all the monsters that this facility holds gets released.
That is my last good, because it is such a massive thing.
It is the absolute best. Like I said, one of the goriest scenes that has ever been on film, because basically the SWAT team is in the corridor where there must be like a dozen or more elevators open up, each containing like a freshly released monster of all kinds, and you see so many different kinds. We've got like a killer tree, a giant snake, a killer robot, a soul-sucking ghost, a werewolf, a giant bat.
I put down the blood elevator, a giant anaconda, ghost, pterodactyl, tree, evil Mars rover, saw blade head in the puzzle spheres, the werewolf, an incubus, a clown.
And it's just like a SWAT team of like 20 people like just getting ripped apart right in front of you.
5 seconds, everybody's dead.
Yeah.
You had to watch this thing like 3 or 4 times to see how every person gets dispatched.
Yeah. And one of the things, like, literally, like, two of the flying creatures, like, or actually just one, and then one on the ground grabs one of them and starts kind of, like, fighting over him, one holding its arms and one holding his legs. Tears
the
them
incubus.
apart, and then it just, like, starts spinning, like, the top half around and letting it go, and it just flies directly at the camera.
Oh. And then then the second wave comes in, and then a second wave of monsters come in.
A whole new wave
and
of monsters.
this time, the most notable ones are the clown and the unicorn.
A unicorn just comes flying off the elevator, running out of the elevator.
And
Traps a guy in a corridor and just stabs the shit out of him with his horn.
like 3 or 4 headbutts, like
And it just trots away, like, so happy looking.
so majestic and beautiful.
So yeah, like, that was like, oh my god, this is the highlight of the movie for me right here. Like, just so much gore on the screen, and all the monsters, like, you got some that are, of course, like, you know, public domain type things that, like, just a generic werewolf or, like, a robot or ghost, you know, clown. And then there's some that are, like...
Creepy kid.
And then some are, like, you know, okay, they don't have the, you know, it'd be copyright infringement to do, like, a certain monster specifically, but we're going to make one close enough so that it doesn't infringe on any copyright, so there's no legal issues, but you know who they were, who
Yeah,
this
like
was supposed to be.
the family with the porcelain masks.
Yeah.
A group of scarecrows, which
Yeah.
I guess was supposed to be like the Jeeper Creeper.
Yeah, I guess so. And then we got like the guy with saw blades instead of pin. Like, that was just like, obviously, I mean, he's all in black, all pale, bald head. Instead of pins in his head, he's got saw blades, and he's holding a puzzle box, except this one is round instead of square.
Yeah, puzzle sphere. And his name is like Fornicus, the master of bondage of pain.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. Like, definitely like a tribute to Pinhead. We got some evil clowns. I thought it was just like, okay, well, I was like, this one is just like a clown in, like, you know, some guy in clown makeup going around killing people with a knife. Then he takes like a few bullets to the abdomen without flinching. So I'm like, okay, so he is supernatural. Never mind.
He's like he's Pennywise.
Yeah.
And then they have like a little ballerina with a tooth fit, with like a basically a face like a face of a leech face.
Yeah. Just like a maw with teeth.
And a generic werewolf, because you got to have a werewolf.
Of course.
There was...
I was kind of wishing that... I kind of hoped that, like, they would put some more classic monsters in, like, get some of the old school... One that was obviously, like, just a vampire, like, you know, like a nod to Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, because these things are all public domain, so they could have easily used it.
Mm-hmm. I think like, there was so much happening, maybe they did, and we were just busy looking at everything else, like the tentacles and the kraken. Because apparently there's a kraken. Yeah,
there's just, like, octopus tentacles shooting out, because that's how... that's how my lovely Fred gets it. So, a little tentacle action there towards the end of the movie.
Well, we do get, like, we know what they have in store, because in the beginning of the movie, or the beginning of the action, when they're led into the basement, as soon as they walk into the cabin, then you just see betting pool.
Yeah, I love that.
The betting pool scene, where everybody has everything written down and guys are taking bets, and you see the board, and one person's just like, and when they finally like open up the book for the zombie redneck family, one guy's just like, oh, not the diary. I wanted to see the merman. And one guy's like, no, you don't.
You don't. Come on, they're messy. And we get a call. We get a call back to that later on. The guy is like, "It's never the merman. All I want to do, I just want to see just once be the merman."
And then we get to see the merman.
Yes, he gets his wish at the end. He's taken out by a merman.
Oh.
So I did. You know, there's one scene in particular too where when they find out that, you know, all the items that are in the cellar of the cabin are connected to a certain monster. Like, they're all cursed objects, and whichever one they activate, I guess for lack of a better word, it releases a specific monster. And I mean, there are so many items in that cellar. It's just covered. So, like, you figure, like, once you figure out what's going on, it's like, oh, well, there must be a lot of monsters. And, like, yeah, you do. We get a glimpse of our heroes when they actually descend into the facility. We see kind of a cutaway shot where you see every single cell that's holding a monster. And, like, you're seeing multiple ones because it pans out. There are so many, but there's two in particular that I had to make special note of. And it's easy to miss. You only get, like, a slight glimpse of them, and it's when it's panned out, so, you know, they're not in full view or anything. But there's two of the monsters are from the game Left 4 Dead. And, like, I noticed it because, like, Left 4 Dead is one of my favorite video games of all time. Easily on my top 10. Absolutely love that game. And if anyone hasn't played it, it's basically it's an action game based on a zombie apocalypse. Basically, it's two teams of 4. One team playing a group of survivors, another team playing a group of zombies. But you're not the regular, typical zombies. You're special infected. The team playing the survivors, they have to get from point A to point B, navigate their way through the city, you know, make it through hazards, certain choke points, things like that. While the team playing the zombies, there's groups of, like, you know, just regular zombies running around, kind of like, reminds me of 28 Day Later type zombies. Just like rage fuel people. But then you get the special infected. You have a hunter, which they have the ability to climb walls. They move quick. You can pounce on the survivors from up high. You have trying to think of what they are.
The smoker.
You have the smoker, which sticks out his tongue and wraps around people and draws them in, and lets out a cloud of noxious smoke while he's doing it. You have the boomer, which is just an obese zombie that actually barfs on the survivors, and the smell of the puke attracts other zombies. And is there one more? I think I'm forgetting one more. There's a tank, but there should be one more, just like special infected. But anyway,
witch.
There's a witch, yeah, but that's not a playable character. And I feel like I'm forgetting one. Maybe I'm not. It's been a while since I played it. But in any case, when we're seeing all these monsters, they start panning out. We actually see two of the special infected in the cells, and it's the boomer and the smoker. So, like, I guess somebody is a fan of Left 4 Dead, like, in order to go to the trouble to get, like, permission to use these images. And I mean, it's not something that kind of reminds, like, is similar to it. I paused it and looked at it and then had to Google it, look it up, and it is, like, identical. Like, images rendered straight from the game.
Oh, that's because they wanted to do a cross-promotion. But, and what Valve was going to do, but they ran out of money, so they didn't do it, was that one of the levels was going to be the facility.
Wow, okay. That is pretty cool. That would have been awesome.
Oh, yeah, what could have been?
But yeah, I had to mention that because that was just amazing. Like, I'm like, that just made me like that movie just even that much more. All right, you got anything else for the good?
Oh yeah, well, quick things like the reverence that they have for the rules, as you explained, but in particular, when what's her name, Jules, is seducing Kurt, or she just wants to go for a walk, but then they pump in the pheromones just to get her extra horny.
Yeah.
So she goes to straddle him, and she's just like, and they're like, come on boobs, come on boobs, come on boobs, and the chemist is just like, why does she have to show her boobs? That's not necessary. And they said, it's absolutely necessary. And then she takes her top off, and you finally get to see the boobs, and they're like, yes, criteria met, all right,
totes worth it. Yeah, she was she's one fine-looking lady.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of fine-looking people, Chris Hemsworth, Thor, is in this movie.
Oh, yeah. He's a likable character. You know, for a guy who's supposed to appear like the annoying, boorish jock,
Well, yeah, well,
even when he's loaded with pheromones, he's still a pretty chill dude.
yeah, but I just like how, like, they have to, the people that they're sacrificing have to meet certain criteria, so they're actually doing stuff to them, basically drugging them to behave a certain way so they fit that. Like, like one of the characters mentions that Chris Hemsworth's character, and can't think of Kurt. Like, when did he go all alpha male? He's a sociology major.
Yeah,
Like,
I've been drunk. I've seen him drunk. He's a chill dude.
he's a chill guy, and now he's a sociology major, and he's calling his buddy like egghead, like, and then his buddy to that point, like, he's an athlete, and he starts getting like more and more like, it's kind of looking more like a dressing in a scholarly type fashion, like the further the movie goes. Starting to cover up more, wear like a colored shirt, wearing his glasses, to speaking differently.
Which is coincidentally her type.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is coincidentally the Star's type, because the movie begins with her ending having just recently ended a thing with a professor.
Yeah.
So she goes for them. She goes for them bookish types.
Yeah, and one of the things that I found out about this movie, actually, in regards to Chris Hemsworth, was that they had basically only just started filming this movie when Chris Hemsworth got cast for Thor, role as Thor. So this movie was actually set to release in 2011, which was the same year that Thor was released. They actually held on to it until after Thor to see if, like, how big of a success Thor would be, so that they could kind of play up Chris Hemsworth's popularity when they released it. So now you got these people that are like, oh shit, like, yeah, this guy plays Thor, he's awesome, and now he's got another movie out called The Cabin in the Woods, so let's go see that.
Yeah. Kurt was a likable character, and the interesting thing about how he met his end was, well, all I can say is, what a way for him to find out that there is a force field.
Yeah, really.
They drive away from the cabin. Someone forgot to do the demolition on the tunnel. So they end up nearly killing them all, because they're already in the tunnel by the time they get the demolition to go. And he realizes, oh, we have a motorcycle, or like a little, what was it, like a motocross cycle?
Yeah, it's just like a dirt bike.
Yes, that's it. So he's got one of those, and it's a small gorge. And he's like, okay, I can jump it. I'm going to get the army. I'm going to get the police. I'm going to get the National Guard. We are going to avenge Jules. This is for her. He clears the distance, and bam, we get a yellow flash. And oh, fuck, do we see him just collide and fall down this possibly bottomless chasm.
Yeah.
And everyone is just like, the fuck did he just hit? Because apparently force fields exist.
Yep, the place is sealed off with a force field. So that's when they know, like, they're in and they're not getting out. It's just like that. This is when they realize, like, the whole thing that the stoner Marty was talking about puppet masters, that holy shit, he may be right.
Yeah, the stoner was right. I wonder if he still counted as a sacrifice of the fool, since he turned out to be pretty smart.
Yeah. He was a good character. Like, again, another, like, the fool, he's like, he's going to be like the classic stoner type. But it actually turned out to be like a much more, like a much deeper character than that.
He's kind of like a perfect fusion of Shaggy and Velma.
There you go. He's Shaggy and Velma's kid. There you
go. Another thing I loved was just when we get to see, we don't get to see what happens in the other continents except for Japan, where apparently what they selected was the ring girl.
Yeah.
To torture and kill a bunch of children, and we see the kids running around, and I'm like, oh, not the school children, no. I mean, like, they're cute and adorable, no. And then we see them doing like what appears to be a seance to contain the witch, and then they turn her into a frog, and they're like, yatta, we did it. And then this head technician is just screaming at the TV, "Fuck you, you little bastard!
Fuck you, fuck you!" And he's just pointing at each one. And it's like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Japan never fails. Fuck you. Now it's all on us.
I like then we're seeing like the clips of all the other places that were running the same scenario and all the scenarios failed, and one of them is just like this giant monster. It looked like King Kong with horns, just like this like 200-foot tall monster just laying on the ground dead. Oh, that was fantastic. Loved it. So yeah, like that's I think that pretty much covers the good for me.
Yeah, I've got like just two quick ones. Holden was an excellent surprise kill. Like Holden, the scholarly bookworm, his kill just comes out of nowhere because you think, no, he's the nice guy, she's the nice girl. Like these two virgins are gonna, or virgin enough. They're the ones that are gonna like smarten up because they're the two smartest people left. Mm-hmm. And then, surprise, one of the rednecks was in the caravan the whole time, who managed to stay quiet during the mountain reversal, during moving out the dirt bike. Somehow, who knows when she got in, but she managed to stay nice and quiet until they thought, okay, we're just going to drive around the cabin, and just immediately takes the whole cabin. What's that thing, Winnebago?
The RV Winnebago, yeah.
Yeah. Just run that off the road. That was a surprise. And the final thing on my list was when they finally, right immediately afterwards, when the Virgin swims up to the dock and the other head tech is just like, wow, this kid has gone through so much. I hope she pulls through. She has just had an absolute rough, hey, tequila!
Yeah. And when they're partying, celebrating their win, or what they thought was their win, because they don't know like what exactly happened. There was a little crimp in their plans. They're all partying, and in the background, like they still have the monitor going, and all you see is just her getting like the crap kicked out of her.
At one point, she's barfing up blood. She's got some internal hemorrhaging going on.
At one point, like the fucking zombie just has her picked up, like just like both hands over, like completely lifted over her head, like full on like WWE. And just slams her down on the dock.
And they don't even care. They're just like putting on some... Oh, fuck. What was that music? It was like a big song.
I don't even remember right now. But yeah, it's like what a good scene. Like they're just like, oh, we don't give a shit, right? Just party.
We did it. Mission accomplished. The world continues to turn because of us. We are the champions.
And then the red phone rings, and you know someone fucked up when the red phone rings.
He was just like, what? We all watched it. What? We saw the... What do you mean someone survived? And then we get to see that Shaggy lives.
He did. He survived.
Chopped
the shit out of a slow-moving zombie.
Yep, and then when they make their way throughout the facility, Gary, the final surviving technician, everything's going to hell around them. Everything's being devastated by the system purge, which was probably one of the best scenes that has ever been in movies, just for the sheer volume of carnage. Mm-hmm. And he manages to find this secret bunker. He manages to open it just in time. He's the sole survivor, turns around, and he gets taken out by not Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh, Kimmy Schmidt was she was as attractive as this girl.
Yeah. Yeah. So now to the very sparse criticisms for this movie.
All right. So I mentioned about the cast. Like, it was great casting for this one. Everybody did a fine job. I gotta mention Chris Hemsworth again. Thor's in this. He's a good actor. I like his acting. His acting in this movie was fine. And he's certainly, my wife mentioned it that like, well, he's not hard on the eyes, and he wasn't like even in full Thor form at this point when this movie was being filmed. But Good God, he does not do a good job with an American accent. His Australian was coming out, let me tell you. It's like, I even mentioned when we were watching it last night, it's like, I think they might have been drinking real booze on the set, because that's when people's accent starts coming out, accents they've gotten rid of over the years. But the more booze you drink, the more it starts coming out. And there were certain times, especially during some of the more frantic scenes, the more action-filled scenes, yeah, he was definitely getting that Aussie twang coming out. So I always used to, it's every once in a while it just used to hit me. It was like, oh yeah, there it is. There it is. A little bit of the Outback.
Yeah, my first bad was the CGI blood. It just made me wonder, was there a corn syrup and food coloring shortage at the time?
Yeah. That's the easiest thing to do. There is never any reason to CGI blood.
All we have to do is just get Tom Savini on the show, and he'll be like, "What? Didn't you? Wait, I thought you guys were horror fans. You didn't know about the Red 45 shortage in 2010? I thought you people were horror fans. I'm fucking done this show."
Yeah. And I mean,
Mr. Savini, please come back.
The movie itself, I mean, there's definitely some some CGI moments that were going to be less than there would be if this was a movie that had a $100 million budget. But for the most part, the CGI was done good enough. I enjoyed it fine, but you're right. The blood is where was when things got a little. That could have been done better. Some real blood, some real fake blood would have done a much better job.
Yeah, in the horror industry, is blood really that expensive?
Yeah, really.
Squibs can be, but we didn't need squibs. We just can just have someone with a paintbrush flick it into the camera frame. Or the scenes when they shatter these glass jars, which apparently don't have the blood of actual people in it, so who knows what it is, but it looks cartoonish.
Oh yeah, it did.
When it's pouring around. You could have just taken a nice trough and just run some blood through it. It's not that hard.
Yeah. And funny thing, now that you mention that, when it comes to the blood you saw pouring into the trough, because the whole point of this was to appease these sleeping gods with the sacrifices of the archetypes.
Yeah.
But that obviously wasn't and after every death, they pulled a lever that smashed a cylinder that released blood that drained down into the pit where these the sleeping ancients were.
Yeah, if you need the
But it's obviously not the blood of the people that got killed.
Yeah, so why does it count?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I thought that, because we get our blonde cutie gets her head sawn off. That's the first kill we see.
Yeah, you would expect that the zombies would if they're under the spell or containment of these people, that they would have brought the body down.
At the very least, since this is all kind of in a fucking biodome type of thing anyway, I thought since there's going to be lots of blood on the ground, you would see it seep into the ground and come out collect into a vial underneath somewhere or something, you know?
Or they send a collection team, a little SWAT team with one scientist to open up a briefcase, grab a heart and then rush it downstairs and throw it into the pit.
Yeah.
But no, they break these jars, which apparently you can break prematurely.
Yeah.
They're allowed to break them at any time.
Yeah, because they broke one they broke the fools when Marty was still alive. So, but yeah, it's and I thought that wasn't there after they broke the fool, wasn't there a little earthquake or something like that? Didn't the thing start to shake?
Right. Yeah.
So that's what I thought.
That could have been the giveaway.
That's what I thought was that was the reason why, because he broke the vial and he wasn't dead. Which, I mean, would make sense. But then again, it still doesn't explain, that's obviously not the murder victim's blood anyway. So I didn't get how that worked.
Yeah, the sacrifice is not going directly to the god.
I just think that could have been done better.
That was just so hollow.
Yeah.
And, my final bad is, if these are supposed to be, if they're supposed to choose their death, they should be killed by a method that they instigated. like touching, like blowing the conch to summon the merman. Like, they should summon their death, and that's how it should count. But does Kurt's death not count as an implicit murder? Like, nobody could have anticipated that. Like, at least in all the other ways, you can fight the thing, you can kill the thing, you can kill a zombie, but being killed by a force field is...
Yeah, if anything, I would have called that an accident.
Yeah.
That's an accidental death, right?
Well, it's not an accident because it's done by the technicians, which it's a direct involvement on their part because they put that force field there. It has nothing to do with the magic they summon.
Yeah,
and there's no way to survive it.
Right. Either way, they weren't killed. Like, that's because I put down my notes too. So like, does it count that they got killed like because just by dying, just trying to escape from the zombies?
Yeah, and then they send a kill squad to kill the stoner. This is breaking their rules.
Yeah.
They implicitly say, we cannot get involved. They have to choose their method of death, and we just simply make that death possible.
Right.
This was not that. This was an implicit breaking of the rule.
Exactly. So yeah, I didn't think so. Like, that seemed like weird to me too. Like, why even bother? Like, I mean, if that counts, then you can just get these people to come here. When they start acting like, take on the personas that they're supposed to act of, just get a fucking, like, SWAT team to go in and just mow them all down.
Yeah,
if that's all it takes.
You could have
right?
just blown up the cabin.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
just immediately, like, reconstruct the cabin for the next batch.
There you go. Just wire it to blow. Like, okay, like, these people now, they fit the criteria, so let's blow the thing. And if they have to be killed...
establish rules, don't break them. Otherwise, you're going to get bad marks.
And if they have to be killed in a certain order, then, like, just have, like, booby traps in each room that you can just... Or just, like, remote booby traps you just trigger whenever you want. Oh, this person's in position? Boom.
You just saw the bitches.
Yeah. So, yeah, that it didn't really... Like, it did leave a lot of questions. Okay, and I gotta ask you, what did you think of the ending? A good ending, or what? Like, what... And the only reason I ask this is because I talked to people that have seen this movie before. Some people... I actually had... when this movie came out back in 2012, there was actually this lady that I work with, and I remember on that same night we were going to go see this movie. And so, of course, like, we saw it on a Friday night, so that Monday I want to talk about it. And she said this was one... Oh, she was so disappointed. She's like, basically what it came down to is, like, she was like, I thought this was going to just be about these group of people go to this cabin in the woods and they get attacked by monsters or whatever like that. I didn't even understand what was going on, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so instead of wanting like a smart take on the horror genre, she just wanted like an Evil Dead rehash.
And she was incapable of any... deconstruction.
Yeah, any, like, seeing, like, a broader scope of things. And I've heard a few people say that, like, oh, they didn't like it because it was, like, it was too much, basically, like, for lack of a better phrase, it was too much for them, not what they wanted. They wanted, like I said, just another rehash of things that have been done a million times. Some people said they loved the movie except for the ending. I love this ending. I mean... The world ends. Or at least, like, it's about to, you know?
Yeah, it is, like, the highest stakes. And they failed. They just didn't do it. I liked it. It was... The only thing I didn't like about it is that it guarantees that there wasn't a sequel.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I mean, unless it's all about, like... Somehow, nobody's alive to see it, but somehow the creature is somehow contained by the force field. Like, that is somehow working. And the army's just on the other side going, how the fuck did they fail?
Yeah. I actually liked it, despite the fact that it looked like it was graphics straight out of one of the old PS3 God of War games, or PS2 God of War games. It
was definitely a Titan from God of War.
Oh, absolutely.
I was expecting Cthulhu, but
yeah, I thought there was going to be more. It was going to be more tentacly than leathery than like a big giant arm.
No, it's just a big
but I
rock
like that.
monster.
I was like, what a way to end a movie. The fucking world ends. They released an ancient evil that basically just said, fuck it, we're screwed anyway, so let's just end it. Okay, do you have anything else for the bad?
No, that's it.
I've
I guess it, at least like in the world of the characters, like Sigourney Weaver's the director, which was nice twist.
Yep. I love seeing Sigourney Weaver.
The hero gets shredded by a werewolf, and then so does Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
And all they needed was to have the stoner die. And as she put it, like, you're going to die anyway. You can either die with the human race or for them. And I can understand, like, in a way, like, not doing it, because it's like, you're asking a lot to trust. And you are here to kill us all, so I'm not really going to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if the world still would have kept turning if she just killed her friend, 3 minutes before he was dead anyway.
Yeah.
But she decides not to, and then when they realize, oh no, they weren't kidding. There's something is crawling from the center of the earth to bring out the end of days. Well, time to roll out a fatty.
Yeah. Sigourney Weaver, love her.
She can take on a xenomorph, but she can't take on a stoner. Shame.
Yeah. So the only thing I got left on the bad, and I didn't really want to put this on the bad list, but I'm like, I just thought, because it was funny, I laughed at it, but I just didn't know where else to put it. It didn't really fit with the good, so I was like, screw it, I'll just throw it on the bad. And that is, when we first see Marty, when he shows up, he's like ripping a huge bong in his car as he drives up.
It looks like a telescope.
It does. It looks like a telescope, and it actually is telescopic, because he gets out with this gigantic bong. And, Kurt tells him, like, you can't take that in the... Are you crazy? Like, you're driving around with this? Well, I don't think you're taking it in the... in the RV. We're going to get pulled over if, like, the cops see you with that. And he was like, do you really think the cops are going to pull us over if they see me with this? And it just basically collapsed into, like, a travel mug. And I'm like, so he went through all this trouble. I don't know if he, like, made this or bought this somewhere. This fucking, like, telescopic bong that can, like, collapse into, like, a travel mug, so that he can, carry this and not be inconspicuous. 5 minutes later, they're traveling an RV. He's rolling like about 50 joints on the table on the RV as they're driving. Like, why were you worried about being seen with this bong if you're not worried about having, like, this fucking, what must have been like $2,000 worth of weed laid out on the table? So I'm like, it is funny, but it's also just ridiculous. And it's funny if they did it on purpose, but I don't think they did it on purpose. I think they just wanted to point out, like, how much of a stoner this guy is. He's going away for the weekend, so I have to roll up, like, 3 million joints.
His reasoning was like, the cops aren't going to pull me over because I look like I'm just daring them to try something. Like, I'm so obvious with it, they know that there's got to be something up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, that's everything I got to say about the movie itself. Our bad list for this movie is probably, like, the lightest bad list we've had for any movie we've done on the show. Everything we talked about was just so minor.
Oh, so nitpicky.
Yeah,
this is just overall a great movie.
Nothing egregious in the bad list. It's not going to be, like, don't worry, like, there's some gore in it and everything like that, but, like, if you're a hardcore gore hound, it's gonna probably be a little light to you. I just liked it just because it was such, like, a fresh take on a horror movie. It hit all the tropes while making fun of the tropes. That's what I loved about it. And I will go on record as saying that, like, the 91% critic score that this got for Rotten Tomatoes, I back it up. I was like, I'd give this thing a 90 all day.
Yep. It delivers on its premise. Only like a 10% for a 10% deduction because it breaks one of its rules.
Yeah. And it's so many like so many different kills in there. It's like it's so much. It's got it's a sci-fi horror movie. It's a monster movie. It's a zombie movie. It's a supernatural movie. Like it just hits everything.
It's a cosmic horror movie.
It's this is a fucking like love letter to horror fans, as far as I'm concerned.
Didn't Joss Whedon say it's a hate letter to horror fans?
Whatever. I don't care. You can call it whatever you want, Whedon. I really don't care. So yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it was done because like for people like to make fun of horror or whatever. But like to me, I'm like, no matter what your intention was, to me this is a tribute to horror.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love this. Like this is definitely like a movie. I got called by somebody that's I consider myself a hardcore horror fan because I love like horror so much, like in all like so many genres of horror. I got called a poser by somebody that I know that is, considers himself a hardcore horror fan for liking this movie. And I'm like, nothing pisses me off, I think, like, than the word poser. It's like, so, like, what do you think that, like, I'm a horror fan poser, that I'm pretending to like horror? It's like, I've committed way too much time to something that I'm pretending to like, buddy. All right? Back off. If that's what you think. Like, yeah, so apparently I'm a poser for liking this movie, but I really don't give a fuck. You call me what you want. You're a fucking moron. This is a great movie.
You know who aren't posers?
Who?
Our connections.
Oh, right. Yeah, we got, like, our connections dug deep this time. Apparently the movie was going to have, like, a lot more scope to it. It concentrated on the main two technicians, that main level of the facility. But Mike and I Connects, they came back and said that actually there was going to be some deleted scene. There were some deleted scenes that were going to show, like, the other levels of the facility, concentrating on some of the other workers about, like, what their thoughts on the whole thing was and how they handled it. Even, like, something cool about the kill pool, the betting going on.
Yeah, the B plot for the B plot.
Exactly. And there's supposed to be a few of these. Apparently, they could only get their hands on one. Like, most of these copies have been destroyed, but one managed to make it through, and I think it would be a great addition for this week's It Came from the Cutting Room Floor.
Woohoo! Oh man, let's get the show on the go. Gonna win this year's pool for sure. I can feel it.
I still can't believe the Japanese team blew it. I thought they had this locked down for sure.
Well, now we get to reap the rewards. I got the werewolf. He's due, man. I can feel it. No one from down here in the bottom level has ever won, but this is my time.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
So who'd you pick?
Oh, I didn't bet.
Oh, don't give me that. I saw you giving money to Hadley. Come on. Who'd you get? Did you pick the merman? There's only one thing getting blown in that cab, and it ain't the conch.
No, I didn't pick the merman. That'd be stupid.
Then what?
I picked the unicorn.
The what?
I picked the unicorn.
What? The unicorn? Are you for real? The unicorn. The unicorn. Why would you ever pick that? Oh, do you like unicorns, Brian? OMG, are you a brony? Do you believe friendship is magic?
Hey, shut up, man. Come on. One of those girls is bound to pick up that cursed unicorn plush and rub its horn. It's an easy one. Look at that redhead. She's all sweet and innocent. She's got to be into unicorns.
The only horn she's rubbing is her professor's. So do you have your own unicorn plush? Do you cuddle it at bedtime when you're wearing your fuzzy slippers and your rainbow PJs?
Oh, fuck you. At least I'm not into furries there, Mr. Werewolf.
Yeah, nice try flipping that around, Mr. Majestic.
Oh, dude, you are talking to your ass, man. The
You
unicorn
really can't
is due.
just... You
Unicorn
really
is...
think that you can just... Oh, shit.
That's not good. Who dares disturb my slumber? It was him.
No, I'm sorry. It's just he picked the unicorn in the kill pool, and
The unicorn? That's amazing! Who picked the unicorn?
I know, right?
Oh, that's hilarious! Oh, okay. Oh, all right. I'm gonna go back to sleep. Remember, complete the ritual before sunrise, or I'll kill you all.
Okay, have a good sleep.
Oh, a unicorn. You guys are dicks.
Wow, another treasure.
Yeah, that was good.
And finally, we finally get to see what do these things do when they're not destroying the Earth. Apparently, they occasionally wake up, and they're rather pleasant as long as the sacrifice has begun.
Yeah.
They can be kind of jovial and patient.
Yeah. And I like that. It was a good return. Like we haven't got anything from our connects in a while, but it was good to see a return of the cutting room floor.
Yep, a strong return for 2019.
Yes, indeed. All right, so that is all we got to talk about with this movie, except for one thing, Mike. I think you got just one more little item to knock off the list before we go.
Yep, I had one strong entry for this week's kill of the week. And it was, I still want to talk about it, but it was Kurt's moment of glory being cut short when his big hero moment ended with him not just colliding with the shield and then falling into the chasm. He continues to bounce on it as it, like, this thing must have been slanted, because a dead drop would have just been a dead drop, but no, he continuously bangs against this thing, lighting it up as he falls down. He is just bouncing on this shield like a wacky wall walker, like those sticky things that you throw against the wall and they just, like, tumble down. Which made me laugh and laugh and laugh, and I thought for sure that this was going to be the uncontested kill of the week. But then, oh fuck, the system purge. Like, why did they even have this button? Why did they basically have a button that nobody with any training can activate to kill every motherfucker in the place?
I laughed so hard at that. It's just like literally just a big red button on a panel. She slams her hand down and it releases all the monsters.
Big red button, system purge. Why wouldn't it send all the monsters up? Why is it designed to take all these things and rearrange the boxes to go down to the elevator shafts? I mean, it's just like, hey, how about a kill every motherfucker in the place button? Just as that nobody with any training can come along and activate this thing.
Yeah. You get some new person, some intern come along and like accidentally lean on it or something.
Well, don't worry. We're going to put a little plastic shell on it.
Yeah.
That way, you'd have to press that button on purpose.
Yeah.
Oh, but just the sheer volume of carnage, devastation, hilarity, variety, comedy, terror. It is just fucking... It is a carnage-ridden free-for-all. And it was just shocking. This was like a solid 10 minutes of devastation and wackiness.
Oh my
where
god!
Every motherfucker that you've come to hate and think like, oh man, why are these people being such assholes? You want them to get their due, and then only when it's too late do you realize, oh shit, they really were the good guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's I could watch that scene over and over again, just like that montage of just like all the monsters getting out and just going nuts on the facility.
That there's still a button that's designed to send all the monsters inside into the facility rather than like let them loose. Like that could have been the sequel to Cabin in the Woods, when the organization is revealed and all the monsters are just laying siege and the army has to like recruit wizards and shit to repel some of the supernatural forces. That could have been room for a sequel, but they made sure, nope, we're going to make sure that we're going to pull out every single stop and there will never be a sequel to this.
Yep. It's like, no, everybody associated with this movie has to die. All right. Well, guys, that is Cabin in the Woods. Have you seen this one? What did you think about it? We want to know. And Not only do we want to know, like, if you've seen this, but did you agree with our opinion? Did you love this movie as much as we did? Did you think we're way off the mark and this was an absolute crap movie? Because I've been talking to people, and there's some people that really do think that. And while I disagree, doesn't matter. We want to hear from you. And if you do disagree or agree, whatever the case is, but you have a movie that you want us to cover on a later episode, you've got many ways to do that. First of all, you can go the old-fashioned route, and you can email us at graveyardshiftpod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter if, people still follow Twitter, at GYS_horrorpod. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/thegraveyardshiftpod, and, of course, on Instagram, instagram.com/thegraveyardshiftpod. If you're feeling particularly generous and you want to help support us and keep these episodes coming, you can go on over to patreon.com/graveyard, and there you can make a donation for the production, towards the production of the show. For only $1 a month, you get to help us out greatly with those costs, and you get access to some exclusive Patreon bonus episodes. There's quite a few up there, and we do them a little differently than we do with the regular feed. There's some good stuff. Some of my favorite episodes are actually on the Patreon list, so check that out if you're a Patreon donor. If you don't have the money to give us money, we completely understand, but you can still help us out a ton by rating, reviewing, that's a new word, reviewing and subscribing from whatever source you get your podcast from. There must be some kind of subscription button, so go ahead and give that a click. In the long run, actually, that's what helps us out the most, so we certainly do appreciate it. You can do the same thing on social media. There's usually some kind of rating system. If not, you can still share our posts with your friends on your friends list, or by word of mouth. You just know somebody that would like to listen to us talk about horror movies, then tell them all about us. Okay, Mike, other than the Graveyard Shift, you've got a ton of stuff going on, so what's happening?
I have the Playing with Power podcast, where we talk about Nintendo Power magazine. We read each issue first to last, or at least until I run out of scans to get, which is becoming more viable thanks to Nintendo deciding, nope, fuck you, we're just locking down and suing anybody that's sharing our old stuff. Because we got to protect our brand that we will do nothing with. And then I've got the retro gaming podcast, the Taste Test Retro Gaming with Flavor, where we play the old games of the past and do like a little skit involving the game and food, because one of the co-hosts is a cook. Then we've got the Tech Chatter podcast, where me and Rich Reader talk about tech news, gadgets, stories, hilarious stuff. And then there is the Schlock Chatter podcast, which will be released, if it's not released by now, it will be released very soon, where we our first movie is Iron Sky, the Nazis from the Moon. We review absolutely campy, ridiculous, absurd movies, and just because they're campy, just because they're schlocky, doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, but most of them are going to be bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good stuff. I'm looking forward to that one especially. But check them all out. They're all good. If you follow us on social media, there's a chance that you could easily find the links to those shows, so check that out. Or if you want to find out, just message us. I'm sure Mike has no problem sending you the links that way.
Although you should check out facebook.com/thegraveyardshiftpod, and you'll find the links there.
There you go.
Because it saves me, talking with people that I'm not podcasting with. I have to parse my time now.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. Well, guys, that is our horror movie coverage for this week. But, of course, we're going to be back next week with the breakdown of a brand new horror movie. Until then, I'm Sheldon.
And I'm Mike.
And thank you again for joining us on The Graveyard Shift. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and fuck you.